So you're excited, you got a wheeling trip planned. You're getting ready to pack. Aside from your cooler, your shades, some gloves, tire pressure kit, maybe a couple U-joints, what else do you take with you? Hey guys, Michael again with Bronco Logic, and I've got a trip planned soon to the Mid-Atlantic Early Bronco Roundup in 2 weeks, and I'm getting the rig ready, getting everything packed in there, parts, fluids, tools, everything you see here. And I thought about it, what does everybody else pack? I'm fascinated by that. Do you pack too much? Do you pack too little? Well, check this video out. Here's everything I pack and everything I need, nothing more, nothing less. Tell me what I've missed. So, I'm going to start off. First thing you want to do when you go anywhere, if you're first time off-roading, wheeling, whatever it is, before anything else, you need recovery. So we've got some straps, we've got some tree savers, we've got a couple D-rings, chain. I know chains are sort of frowned upon now these days, but in the event of not having a long enough strap, a chain's always a nice thing to have for extra protection. Just use some caution when you use it, and like I said, gloves. So what I'm going to do in this video is, I'm actually loading the truck right now. So I'm not going to do a whole lot of editing. I'm going to show you maybe a little bit of downtime, try to cut it out if I can, but I'm actually going to load all this stuff up in the truck, and so I can be ready to go. So I'm going to use these gloves to do it. First things first, like I said, is the recovery gear. What I do, instead of using a bag, which I've seen a lot of people use, probably out of frame, but instead of using a bag, I like to use just a milk crate and keep it at the back of the truck. That way, this is going to be one of the first things you use most. And it's just easier if I can reach over the back tailgate with the window down, grab it right there. It's not in the bag. I don't have to worry about it getting shoved or anything else. I can just pull it right out of there and then throw it right back in here. Nice and easy. Nothing like trying to get everything in the bag and then zip it up. So this is pretty simple. Throw that in like that. Ready to go. Somewhere really conspicuous where you can find it easily, where somebody else can find it, and it's easily accessible for you. So easiest place on a Bronco that I found, almost like made for it, right back there in the back corner pockets. And then this has a mount in front of the rear seat, which I never run. It's up there, so I'm just gonna stick it there for now. So let's move on. Moving on, we've got fluids. This comes right after the recovery gear. And what I normally put fluids in is these boxes. These are made by Plano, and I got them at Academy, and I think they're called the Sportsman or something similar, but they have Ford locking rings on them, and they're perfect, especially if you have a space in the back of a full size. So there's no excuse in not having all the gear you need, especially if you run a full-size Bronco, because that's what we're known for, is all the space. So standard fluids for your vehicle. It's gonna be the same for pretty much any rig. We've got some cases of oil, just a few, or quarts of oil, just a few, because in the event you have something go wrong, catastrophic with your engine, you're not looking to rebuild it on the trail. You're just looking to get off the trail, enough to be able to limp it back to camp or either home base. So keep that in mind with the amount of stuff you bring, is that you're not looking for full-blown repair, just a Band-Aid. So moving on, we got some gear oil, just in case something happens in the rear. 2 quarts of coolant. I actually don't run 2 gallons of coolant. I actually don't run coolant. I run water, distilled water, and water wetter. Because with the big block and long tube headers in the south, my truck gets unbelievably hot, and this isn't enough to cool it down even with the fans. This drops my temps by about 10-15 degrees, so I generally run this in my rig, but this is in just in case somebody else needs it. I always keep it here because I have the room, so why not? And I'm actually packing all this right now, so there's not going to be a whole lot of editing going on because I'm actually getting ready for the trip. So next on the list, we got power steering fluid and what is that? More coolant. Oh, this was actually ATF, not coolant. Transmission fluid, always a need. So we're gonna actually load all this in there. And if you run power steering fluid in your truck, or you run hydro like I do, or even a stock Ford pump, you wanna have ATF fluid type F for your pump. But either way, these are necessity fluids you got to have. I wouldn't recommend taking anything less than this. Next on the list is brake fluid, throw that into the mix. And then just your typical spray can stuff, WD-40, starting fluid. No need to explain what all that's for. Brake cleaner, in case you need to clean anything off. And then always got to have a trusty funnel with you. What's not pictured in here is a spill kit, and I'm not going to bring it all out, but this is something you definitely have to have, especially if you're going to practice what Tread Lightly preaches and keeping these private and public trails open. We definitely want to adhere to what the policies they have and make sure these places are open for a long time for other people to use. So that's in there. Always have an assortment of hoses. So I've got a few brake line hoses, or excuse me, not brake line, but fuel line hoses, anything you may need that could pop, bust, or pop. A few small vacuum hoses. Always throw that in here with the fluids. I've also got a hydro line. I run hydro assist on this truck, and they can have failures on the trail, especially when overheated. So I run at least one line. That way I can get off the trail. Hard to turn big 38s on rocks without some help. And this little gadget, I'm sure you've seen it before, it's a little siphon hose. And what you do is, I'm sure you've seen it, you stick the little copper in inside your gas tank or whatever container it is that has the fluid, you give it a couple shakes, and then what it does is creates a vacuum in the hose. You then run the other side down into the canister or jerry can or whatever it is you need, and it's like a homemade vacuum pump for siphoning out fluids. And it's like 13, 14 bucks. I've yet to use it, but I think it's a nifty little trick, and you never know when you're gonna need it. Obviously you can't use it with thick fluids like oil, but coolant or gasoline, like I said, it's enough trick. So I think that takes care of this one. So close it up, lock her down, and she's ready to go in the truck. Moving on, you can think of this entire packing process in a 5-step program. First is recovery, second is first aid, third is fluids, fourth is parts. So I also keep all these in a Plano box. This one you see is a little different. Place to store all my stickers. And how I know this is the parts one is these are all the places and parks that I've been. So places, parts, P&P, easy enough. So first things first, open this up. Rear drive shaft. You never know when you're gonna bust one. I don't run a front one because it's just not a likelihood that I'm gonna break. I run, I say that now, my next trip's gonna break, but I run chromoly shafts in the front, all 32 spline, inner and outer, and chromoly shafts on the outer. CTMU joint, so I'm pretty well built in the front. If anything is gonna break, it's likely gonna be the torque to the rear axle. So I only carry one shaft, and again, keeping with the theme of this, it's just to get me off the trail. And I don't drive to the parks. Down in middle Georgia, everything is at least 3 hours away, so everything's gonna get trailered. So I'm just trying to get back to home camp or home base. Always, necessity, must carry at least one extra drive shaft. Same thing goes with your rear axle. I only run a rear shaft. I don't carry a spare front shaft. The likelihood of the front shaft breaking is not as strong as the rear one. So I only want a rear. Moving on. These are Warren locking hubs. I have a complete set, not just one. I have another set in here and some other tools, some snap rings, whatnot. I also keep a couple spare spark plugs and spark plug wires. I've never had to use them, but it's small enough to fit in this box, and I keep a few other parts that are related to this, hub bearing sockets and whatnot in here. So it's just confined space to put it in there. I've also had an issue on this rig with starters and alternators. Don't ask me why. It wasn't until 2 or 3 alternators later that I got a Motorcraft alternator and hadn't had any issues. But in the event that one craps out, I have the old 95 amp Motorcraft alternator to go on it, which I'm running a 130 now. But I always keep that with me just because of previous history and experiences I've had with alternators and starters. That's what's in this box, is another starter. Fuel filter, oil filter, I keep in here, just in case I have any issues. Always want to carry 2 serpentine belts, or at least one. I say 2 because this rig, a big block, has a 2 serpentine belt system. So I carry 2 of those spares just in case anything happens. Nothing will ruin your day faster than a serpentine belt breaking and you're dead in water. So always carry a few of those. Fuel pressure regulator, just in case. And I also keep a Motorcraft coil. I run an MSD coil in this truck. I don't need all the comments. I know they're junk. I've ran 3 of them right out of the box. They were garbage. This one's been in this truck for about 2 years. Seems to run good. My tuner recommended it. It's the Bronco is tuned for that coil, and I get a little better spark out of it. So I run that. But in the event and the likelihood that it's going to fail, I don't say if, I say when that MSD is going to fail, I'll have another one on the trail. So that's pretty much the only thing I carry for parts. Not a whole lot of stuff. I don't carry extra lug nuts. I don't carry anything else like that. I can always pull a lug nut or two off another tire if I absolutely need to. But my parts bin is pretty sparse from what it takes, from what I need. So this one is ready to be loaded. This is probably what you came for the video to see. So to break it down, what I take. I run an entire wrench set. You never know what you're gonna need. And this is an El Cheapo set. I think I got it from Sam's or Costco for you West Coasters. And a lot of this stuff is pretty cheap, so if I end up losing it, not a big deal. It's not what my garage tools are. These are sort of just travel tools. So start with the biggest stuff at the bottom. Put wrenches in there, and then I'm a big fan of gear wrenches also. I take more of these than I actually need, but you never know when you can help somebody on the trail. And so I take 3 different sets of gear wrenches, a couple little stubbies. Next on the list, this is some drill bits. Also put in here electrical kit, your multimeter, extra wire, fuses, additional relays. I've got more fans on this thing than your local grocery store. So everything kind of stays in here. It's an easy little carrying case. Drop that in there. Wheel chalk. I've got a parking brake on this as well as putting it in park, but you never know how bad of an incline you are. And if you're running with somebody with a manual, they may need one in extreme off-camber situations. Moving on, I also keep a set of jumper cables, pretty standard, in a bag. This is a bag of ratchet straps, and I didn't carry these, crazy enough, I didn't carry these until recently. My last trip to River Rock, which is a private park here in Georgia, I nosedived the Bronco on the passenger side, ended up pushing the front quarter panel into the passenger door and was unable to open the passenger door. So luckily I had some of these in my tow rig and was able to ratchet strap the front fender back forward after loosening the fender to my trailer and get everything back in position where I can open the passenger door. So now I run those. Keeping in line with straps and brackets, we're going to move them just a little bit. I keep a little baling wire, and also, I don't know what this is, I'm not really a tool guy. It's got some holes in it, it's aluminum, and you can use this to actually run a couple screws through if you need to hold something stronger than this. And you cannot, absolutely, without a doubt, leave home without your zip ties. 2 different sizes. I also keep a set of stainless steel cable ties, just in case you have to hold something that has some heat to it. Just in case, that seems to be the theme of this video, isn't it? Just in case. But just in case, I did it again. You need to tie something that has some heat to it and you worry about melting the plastic on these. Cable ties come in handy. Super light, super cheap, easy enough to pack in there. All right, now what I use the most of, DeWalt drill, little baby battery powered impact. This is awesome. I don't run air tools on the trail. I don't know a whole lot of people who do, other than taking lug nuts off, and it just seems to be a big hassle. These little bad boys have enough power oftentimes to break the lug nuts on this truck. So this is what I run, and I got a little bag to carry them in. And the easiest part, the best part about this bag, is I generally put all these smaller tools all in here, so that way I can run with this and that box right there, which we'll get to in just a second. But what I have here is a couple adjustable wrenches, channel locks, 3 or 4 different sizes of vice grips, all going in here, assortment of screwdrivers, Phillips and flat. I also have power steering puller and just a general basic puller for anything you may need. Comes in handy with different circumstances. Assortment of C-channel clamps. I've had a brake caliper come off more than once and on more than one side on more than one occasion. So I run those. So now we're going to stick power tools rather, in here. And this bad boy's ready to go. Moving on. Lights. Rock lights are fantastic, but sometimes you just have to have something pointed directly on what you're working on. So this is another little battery powered DeWalt. It actually came in this kit, and also got a headlamp. I'll also throw that in here in this bag. This bag is finished. VFH. You boys know what these are. You got to have these. When stuff's just being stubborn, you know what to do. A couple different sizes of pry bar, Allen key set, snap-ling pliers, changing out worn hubs on the front. When I lose something, magnetic little, I don't actually know what that thing's called, magnet. Paracord, because Boy Scouts told me you should always have paracord with you, and it's kind of cool. I've yet to use it, so I just throw it in there. Brush, steel brush. You know what these are? Fuel line disconnects. I'll never need them, probably will never need them, but they're so light. Why not put them in there? Must have, especially in the South, we can't go anywhere without there being mud. I will hit a tree not to go through a mud puddle or any mud related. But in the event that I do, I've got this tarp so I can lay on and work on anything. Last but not least, some of the little cleanly things just nice to have. A couple shop rags, plastic gloves, latex gloves, and then I've got here a Ford code book and scanner. So if I got to pop a check engine light, it's running kind of funny, I can't really diagnose it based on just feel. I can plug that bad boy in, it'll tell me what's going on. So 96 is our OBD2, so I usually use a different one, but that's actually an OBD1 scanner, but I wheel a lot of full-size Broncos, and the majority of those are OBD1, so it's nice to have something just in case those boys don't have one. And last but not least, you're asking, what are sockets? This, you can't see it because it's been used to hell and back. It's a Craftsman 100-piece socket set. It's got 1/4 inch, 3/8, 1/2 inch, you do the whole thing, and it has pretty much every standard socket that I would need to use on the Bronco. So this is easy enough just to carry just like it is, along with this bag for pretty much any trail fix I get out of the Bronco, just like this, and I can take care of pretty much everything. This last bag is just a little quick handy bag. There's no point in having it, but in case a trail buddy did not bring anything with him, this is kind of like a little quick go bag. I can just hand him this. Let's say we're both broke down on the trail. He doesn't have anything. I've got to get to my stuff. I can just hand him this bag, and it's got your basic tools for him to kind of get started on his while I can finish up my rig and go over and help him, or vice versa. So this is what I run, and that's it. Now we're going to load the rest of this up, and in 2 weeks, we'll see you at the Bronco Roundup. I never said these were easy, especially when you put some weight in them. Just hang around and watch this. This could be more entertaining than the rest of the damn video. There we go. That bag, that box has a lot of, I don't know if you can show some of the stickers on there, but there's a lot of different tool places and hardware places, so that's how I know tools go in that box. These are going to go directly behind the seat. You don't want to put these in the back, because if it starts bouncing around on you, you don't want sockets hitting you in the back of the head. So normally I tuck this right behind the passenger seat, back the seat up to it. That's way it's nice and tucked in there, and it won't come loose despite all the jarring that's going to happen. Other than that, what do you pack? There is one more crucial tool that you're going to need for any off-roading wheeling trip. Video's not over. It's not this. Yes, you need a jack, whether it be farm jack, high lift jack, bottle jack, whatever. Keep this on the rig. That's pretty much standard. But the one and most important tool you'll need is one you wouldn't expect. It's one that your wife uses twice as much as you do. Give you a few seconds to think about it. It's hot as hell out here, so don't keep me waiting. Still don't know? Got to have it. You never know when nature calls on the trail. And more importantly, when you get those gas station burritos that you wrap in tin foil and you cook them on your exhaust manifold throughout the day, and nature calls and it strikes hard, that may not be enough. So I recommend for those engine cooked burritos. Hey guys, Michael again for Bronco Logic, and I've got a trip planned. No. Now we're moving on to the parts phase. You can think of this whole packing process in a 5-step program. First is recovery, second is first aid, third is fluids. Now we're moving on to the fourth part, which is parts. Did I say the third, which is parts? Hey, while you got the camera, will you take a picture of the Plano on the box so they know what brand boxes those are?
Yeah, give me just 1 second.
It's just a quick pic is all that's needed.
Yeah, I'm trying. Hold on.
What's up?
The shadow on the mic. It's very phallic-like.
Just leave. Sex sells, right?
Touche.
So, you know, water wetter, distilled water. So that's thrown in there. Water.